Paige Listerud here, back with ChicagoTheaterBlog, and we're here with Nat Swift and Steve Scott about Arthur Miller's After the Fall. So, one of the things that I maybe should have requested, but maybe he couldn't have made it, Kevin Hagen's scene design is so incredible for this play and in the space that you have to work in at Greenhouse Theater Center. Honestly, I came in as a reviewer, I thought, I don't know if this is going to work, and yet it works beautifully, it works perfectly. If you could just share some quick stuff on, what went into creating that scene design.
Well, first of all, Kevin is a brilliant designer, and especially in that space. He has designed in that space a great deal. I've worked with him 4 or 5 times in that space, so he really knows how to make what is a tough little space work and really expand. And, we talked, as he was coming up with the design, we talked about this was all kind of happening in his mind, what did that mean, how can we make it fluid, all of that. And the thing that he came up with was kind of based on that kind of map of the mind of, everything being in little compartments and how things fire and how ideas fire. And that translated itself into a series of essentially blocks. It also translated itself, and this is the thing that I love the most, into this kind of maze that these characters go through. There's only one open space on the stage, and everything else is played kind of in aisles or in compartments or whatever. And for whatever reason, that just works brilliantly, I think, for this play, and also allows the kind of dreamscape thing to work simply and well. I mean, the other thing I like about it is that it's not ostentatious. It's just there, and it provides this perfect kind of shifting environment for the play. So,
and I'll say from an actor's point of view, I think a lot of us in the cast were kind of spooked when we first got to the theater and first saw it. And we had been rehearsing with some kind of facsimile of it here in the rehearsal space, but to walk in and see these big blocks, 2 feet by 5 feet or so, laid out in kind of this grid on the stage, and 2-3 days into rehearsals, I think all of us felt like it was the most fun set that we ever had to play on as actors.
Wow.
And also at the same time kind of the most helpful set, because I think this is the most consistent that I've ever felt in blocking in a show, because I can't go a different way. And there's something that's really helpful about that as an actor, about really settling into the really specific movement that the play needs, that I think the set really kind of forces us into, which is wonderful.
I think it's so nice that there's this kind of maze-like theme, but a great play area for actors. What was compelling to me about just looking at it was, it just reminded me of that, modern Swedish design that was all the rage around the late 50s, early 60s.
Yeah.
And it has a real masculinist kind of feeling to it from, like the brown and black colors, and you've got, I was almost going to say it's a little more sophisticated IKEA, but it's not IKEA. It's just so
but it's kind of the same idea.
The idea, and just the idea that you have these shelves over to the right side of the stage that hold these photos of Holocaust victims, but because the lighting changes and because the scene changes are taking place, they can look like shelves that hold books in an apartment or in an office, or it can just shift. Everything can shift with everything that is shifting in the play.
Yeah.
So it's brilliant on that level. It is just loaded with lots of meaning and lots of it's perfect that it's kind of a masculine set, because it is, a male character dealing with his personal evolution through his relationships, and why is he not getting the relationships, the very personal relationships with women that he needs for his life, for all the struggles that he's going through in his life. So it's deep.
And it's amazing what people see in the environment that was created that I never even thought about. I just thought, this is great, it'll solve the problem for me.
Right.
And it's kind of fascinating, kind of the psychological things that the space gives you.
Evokes, right. I wanted to just make one little more note about the lighting and the sound design, and how they contribute to the whole cinematic feel of the whole production. And let's see, lighting design.
Oh, that was
sound design.
Michael McNamara.
Yeah, and sound was Cecil Everett.
Yeah, and
very beautiful work. Very beautiful work.
Cecil's
for the whole
another
show.
one that he's an Eclipse Company member, and I've worked with him now on probably half a dozen shows through the years. And Cecil has a way of doing something simply but beautifully without making it overtly emotional. And one of the things when he and I talked about this, because the play deals with so many dark themes, I didn't want the sound to take us further there. I wanted the sound to play off against that without being so that you're unnecessarily bright or all that sort of stuff. And he was able to find this vocabulary of sound very, very simply, which just works gorgeously. Cecil lives in Oregon, and he wasn't actually able to be here during the tech process. He sent a wonderful assistant in to work with it. But we ended up changing very little of the sound design from what Cecil had come up with, because he really kind of understood what the play needed and how the sound needed to support the play, both dramatically and kind of philosophically. It was incredible.
So, just as a note, tech rehearsals, a nightmare, a struggle, a challenge, or more so than other shows you go into, or no?
A marathon.
A marathon.
Yeah. But not a nightmare.
Not a nightmare at all.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, the designers were very well prepared, and Michael had the biggest challenge. How do you light this in a space that doesn't have a lot of options?
Yeah.
It's not like we have 85 million instruments. How do you light it cleanly? Light it cleanly, quickly, evocatively, kind of give different moods all the way through, and then move on. And so it took a time to find all of that, but it was never, I don't think we ever felt like, oh my God, this is going to happen, or geez, what are we going to do now?
Right.
It was just kind of, let's soldier through and get this up, and then we refine it. And so it actually, although it's a very big show for this company, technically, to do, it's only the biggest one I've ever done. But everybody was pretty much on top of it. So there really were very few problems all the way through.
Wow, that's tight.
But for me, being on stage throughout the entire piece, I think what Michael has done with the lights, what Cecil and Adam have done with the sound, they're part of the ensemble that I'm working with in a way. And Ellen, our stage manager, is calling that running both sound and light board. There are moments when other characters push me and kind of guide me along through the piece, but there are absolutely moments when a light cue guides me to where we're going next, a sound cue guides me to where we're going next. And that was part of what that relationship started happening in those couple of days of tech rehearsals. And part of that plotting along and figuring out how we do all this was figuring out those moments. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, in my review of the show, I called this role an Iron Man marathon for an actor. Because you are on stage the whole 3 hours, and these are your characters' memories, regrets, feelings of loss, feelings of helplessness, disillusionment, so.
How do you do
it, baby? Is there Red Bull that stocked up in the back for you, or what?
No, nothing special that I do differently than I've done different shows. I generally drink a lot of coffee and a lot of Mountain Dew, and so I haven't increased the dosage on either of those, but just kind of kept it running. No, it is exhausting, and it is, and going through the last couple of weeks before we opened, I think I started to really get a sense of what have I gotten myself into? This is huge. But when I'm out there, I feel like each of the acts to me feels like it's about 15 to 20 minutes long. Things are just happening so fast, and people are just there, and we're in a different scene, and something else is happening, and somebody else pops up, and all of a sudden the lights are coming down, and I'm back. So while I'm on stage, it really doesn't feel like 3 hours. It doesn't feel like it's a marathon. And then when we're done, I finish up. I think all the exhaustion hits me. It shines. But it's been fantastic, and it really has been, I think, the ensemble that we've got and the vision that Steve had from the beginning, I think, gave us all the ability to have faith in what we're doing. And the way that this group is working together, I don't feel like it's me out there for 3 hours. I feel like we've got this ensemble show where everybody